Alright guys, welcome to a new gameplay series here for RT2, a game that I've loved ever since I was a kid. I don't know how well this series will do, but nonetheless, it is one of my favorite games I've ever played, and I thought it'd be a great way to introduce some gameplay content to the second channel, which is something I haven't done in a while. So let's get right into it. We're playing Gran Turismo 4. For those who don't know, this was obviously, as the name would suggest, the fourth entry in the Gran Turismo series. For those who don't know me, I've played Gran Turismo my entire life, and I've been playing it since I was like 4 years old. And while I'm not the greatest at it, I do think I'm pretty decent at the game, and I think it's a good game to kind of hone your skills with. Of course, obviously, for a more realistic driving experience, you would probably play, 6 Sport even, or once Gran Turismo 7 comes out, obviously that. Of course, I moved to PC gaming a long time ago, and I've been, haven't really gotten to play much of Sport. We do have a PS4. I have played Sport, but of course, my heart lies with the older Gran Turismo games, such as this one. This is, I think, my favorite in the series. 3 has the most nostalgia, but 4 has probably the best experience, in my opinion. So, this is my Gran Turismo 4 save file. We've got a bunch of cars on here already. I'm 5.6% through the game. I'll walk you guys through my garage and everything. So we've got this car, which I used to actually test the recording of this game. It's a AP1. It's technically supposed to be an AP2, I believe, S2000, on white Falcon wheels. If I said Falcon, I think it just depends on where you're from or how you pronounce it. But on Falcon wheels, it's got a wing on it. It's a fully built NA car. I decided to keep this one naturally aspirated versus going with a turbo car. As I'll get into in a minute, I have a turbo Honda in this game, and it was a nightmare. So I decided to kind of keep this car kind of basic and go for a more general NA build to kind of keep balance with this car. So it makes 408 horsepower, makes 256 pound-feet of torque, and it's a pretty good package car, and it's very lightweight. This car is pretty much fully built outside of a turbo upgrade, so it technically could make more power, but I think for what this car's purpose is, which is to go around a racetrack, that it serves its purpose just fine. It is, of course, Grand Prix white. So next up, I'm only showing the cars that I actually drive, because there's a ton of cars on here that I have that I won't even touch, such as like pretty much the majority of these here, as well as pretty much everything past the Evo here. But so I'll get into all the cars that I actually drive in the game. So next up, and speaking of the turbo Honda, this is my my EK Type R. I don't remember exactly what wheels this is running. I believe it's a Raise wheel or possibly an OZ. I don't remember which one exactly. Of course, also fully built, but this one has a turbo on it. This one actually was running about 350, 360 horsepower, but I actually dialed it back. I had the original turbo kit, pretty much the most powerful turbo you can buy for the car, and it just couldn't get traction, and I was getting beat by Pugo 206 S16s that were bone stock in the FF Cup. So, I mean, that's pretty embarrassing when this car is a fully built racing Civic, but I just, kind of took the L and went back, swapped it down to a smaller turbo. It's now running, I believe, the Stage 2, so it is making 312 horsepower now, but it is still a force to be reckoned with when it gets traction. I may eventually, if it's still too much for it, I'll probably just down it to an NA car, just like I did the S2000, and just take the hit on the money that I've spent on this car. Because probably out of all the cars I have in the game, this one I'll probably spend the most money on in terms of builds because of the swap from the bigger to the smaller turbo. But yeah, love the EK, and this car is just fantastic when it gets traction. So next up is a car that this is probably the car I've driven the most so far. This is a Subaru Legacy B4 2.0 GT Spec B. Of course, we didn't actually get the 2.0 GT here. I believe we had the 2.5, which I prefer the EJ25 to the EJ20. That's just me. I'm sure the EJ20 might be better. I'm not entirely sure. I know Subaru a little bit, but I don't know them enough. But I've ever since my truck caught on fire, I've been kind of wanting to try out a Subaru platform, and I think the car most likely to try from Subaru is a Legacy, so I think that having the B4 GT Spec B is kind of a nice little touch to, kind of experience a Legacy without buying one, if I'm able to get a hold of one. This one is, of course, 505 horsepower. That's not including the 100 of nitrous this car is running, so it makes on nitrous about 600 horsepower, which is pretty brutal for a boxer platform. Of course, this one is fully built, full race suspension. This one is actually my main use car when it comes to the special condition races. This is the car I primarily use. So then we bumped down to the Opel Astra touring car. I bought this specifically to help me make money. I did a couple of the Costa di Amalfi, however it's pronounced, races and used it to buy this car and fully built it and use it in B-spec mode on the DTM because I don't have the high enough license, which is why I have so many credits. This car is very useful, and I have yet to drive this car. All the miles that are on this car were put by the AI, so I can't wait to try this car out. It is also a nitrous, so it should be making about 860 horsepower on nitrous and like 762 without. And like I said, I haven't got to drive this car yet, and I have been eager to try it out. So that might be something we do later on once I get a higher license. We also have my main rally car, which is a GC8 or GF in this case, Impreza STI wagon. I've always loved this generation of the STI. It's by far my favorite generation of the STI, and I love station wagons. And I was sitting there trying to decide what I want to do for rally build, if I wanted to try to get an actual rally car in the game, or if I wanted to build my own. And then I was like, I really want to do an STI wagon as a rally car, and I was like, well, I was like waiting to find the perfect one. Then I just got bored, and I was like, I want to go ahead and build this car. I was wanting a WR blue, but I wound up getting the cool gray. This car makes 490 horsepower. I believe it also has a nitrous spray. I don't remember how violent the nitrous is in this car, whether it's a 50 shot or 100 shot. But either way, it's a very, very fast car, and this is actually about used. It has 32,000 miles on it, so it's a pretty solid little car. Next up, we have pretty much the most heaviest car that I've built in this game so far. It's a F-150 Lightning. Everyone who knows me well knows this is my dream truck. This one makes 678 horsepower. This is running a 50 shot, I believe, so it's making probably in the low sevens for horsepower on nitrous. It makes 740 pound-feet of torque. It's a supercharged engine. Has 15 miles on it, so it's not like I haven't driven it too much. I drove it for the pickup truck cup, and that's probably the most I've driven it. But all in all, pretty fun little truck. Still not a great handling platform, but it's a pretty fun little truck to drive in the game. I hurt some feelings in the truck cup with this thing. So now our last two, we have the Cadillac CN. Now this one, you of course win from the very first special condition race when you have your B license. I believe it might be the A. I don't remember which one. But this car is kind of broken, and a lot of people use this car to make money because it's very fast, especially once you put nitrous on it and do some upgrades and stuff like that. This car, I've currently got it with a supercharger attached, but I may switch it to an NA car because the NA apparently is actually faster. And I have yet to actually drive this car, hence why it shows no miles. And then my starter car, this is the car that got me started in the game. It's an Evo 1. It makes 320 horsepower. I didn't quite build this car quite too much. I built it enough to handle the first special condition race to win the Cadillac CN. But after that, the car's kind of sat as I favored the Legacy over it, which is the car that I primarily use for races like that now. It's got 45,000 miles. It's a pretty solid little car, though, and I love it to death. 322 horsepower, 293 pound-feet of torque. And, of course, we are on some T37s, just like the Legacy. I just love the T37s and love this car. It's a really great car. So those are all the cars that I actually drive in the game. I know we kind of spent a good little bit of time going over all these cars, but of course I have a Lupo, I've got the Sunfire, I've got the Triathlon, the Silverado, the RS200 and RC, and the Prowler. But we probably will experiment with a lot of those cars at later dates, but primarily we're going to be focusing on these cars today. So I think let's start off with the S2000. I think I still actually have a race in the Roadster Cup to do. Let's see what we got going on here. Nope, I actually finished the Roadster Cup, so I think we'll start the FR Challenge races, because that'll be where this car comes into its element, because obviously it's going to be a lot of rear-wheel drive cars. We've got a lot of races to go with. We've got Seattle, Tsukuba, Special Stage Route 5, another one of my favorites, Laguna Seca, which used to be the bane of my existence in Motorland. This race should be fairly simple. We'll start off with Seattle. I think that'll be a good way to kind of start the series off. One of my favorite classic Gran Turismo tracks with an S2000. I think is just the best way to go. So pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to go mute the in-game BGM. Alright, we are ready to go now. Let's get started. So our lineup here, I'm actually not the only S2000 in this race, and I'm probably still going to have the fastest car here, because it's the Beginner's Cup. Quite frankly, none of these cars are going to be brutally fast. I think the car I'm probably going to be most worried about is probably going to be that SL500. It has the biggest engine here, and it's probably going to be the best straight line car out of this group, outside of maybe my S2000 here. I'm a little broken here for the early game, to say the least. We've got an FCRX7 in here as well. That car should be a bit of a weapon. The Crossfire I'm not terribly scared of. The Z4 maybe a little bit, but the other S2000 I'm not entirely scared of it, but we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to go straight in the A-Spec mode and see what we got here. So for those curious, I am playing on an emulator. This is I do own the game in real life. I'm not promoting software piracy at all. Only download ROMs for games that you own or get ROMs for games you own. So that explains there's a couple glitches like what you're about to see here. The race is obviously started. It still says get ready to drive. Obviously, once you change camera views, that goes away. Also, the violent shaking, which I noticed on the PS2 version. I believe it is when the game is loading assets that it does this. You know, like the environment and stuff like that. So, go ahead and swing this turn here. This other S2000's being a little finicky. The crossfire's holding up pretty well, which I didn't expect it. Ooh, that was a bit of a sketchy jump there. On the back straight here, and go and hit the nitrous and let her rip. Oh yeah, that's where this thing opens up. And once you get the spray going on this car, holy cow, I forgot how... I was literally just playing... Oh, that was not good. Did that turn a little hot there and paid the price for it. So yeah, I am playing this on an emulator on a PC. For those who don't know, my Ryzen 5 PC, that if you guys have not watched the channel, this is of course a Ryzen 5 3600, Radeon RX 580. We've got a MSI motherboard as well as a EVGA power supply on this thing. It's about, I think it's about 8 gigs of RAM. I can't quite remember. It might be 16. I'll have to look. But this computer runs emulation very well. I used to run a Mac Pro, and I ran this exact emulator, I believe, on the Mac Pro side, and this game was practically unplayable. But with the Ryzen system that I'm running now, it embarrasses the Mac that I had. This car handles so well. I am in awe about how well this car handles. Ooh, a little over rev there. This thing revs high. All right, go for nitrous again. This thing really revved to 10. This thing revs to 10,000 RPM. Talk about a bike. Ooh, coming in hot here. Okay, I think I got... Oh, ooh, oh, flip the apex a little hard there, but... This car really rolls out. Like, it's a little broken for this early in the game, but goodness gracious, when it goes, it goes. Oh. Alright, coming into this next turn here. This S turn always gave me nightmares as a kid on this track. This turn especially. Go again with the nitrous. Probably won't hold it as long this time. That's probably will stop the nitrous for now, because I want to save some for the main straight at the beginning of the track. Didn't come in quite so at that time. Still tapped the wall, but a lot better than I was earlier. My problem... Oh, came in there really hot, though. My problem with like driving games on a controller is I'm not very good at clipping apexes. I always clip it too hard. As you guys saw there. Oh, goodness gracious. I am not doing too hot today with hitting all these walls. A little rusty, I guess, even though I've played the majority of this save file in the last like 3 days. This thing is getting air. This thing's fun. I like this car. It's that last jump really upset the car. That was a little sketchy. Oop, little wall tap there. That's one thing people are probably going to criticize Gran Turismo 4 for now in the modern day, is that the collision physics are horrible. It's not like Forza. You hit a wall, you hit a wall in like Forza 7 and stuff like that. This game, not so much. You hit a wall and you just bounce off it like a bouncy ball. There we go. First win of the FR Challenge. Pretty solid little win for the S2000. That was a pretty solid race. That was really fun. Looks good, sounds good, and it drives good. That's for sure. Add another 1,500 to the bank. And that is that. I'm actually going to save this replay for thumbnail use later. I don't have a... This is one of those times I do wish I had a... I could use my keyboard for this. I'll just do... Good news is this thing has an infinitely large memory card. Because it's on a PC. All right. So I think that's going to wrap things up for this video. I kind of want to do like a little pilot episode with this and do one race. That way we could get started with something small and then move on to bigger races here in the future. Probably next video, I'll probably focus on finishing the majority of these races. We'll probably do like a little bit of action with the FR challenge with this car. But primarily I wanted to show off kind of, some gameplay of this and get started with some cool Gran Turismo 4 content. So with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the very next one. Take care, everyone.